Brown, Tammy McCaskill, Rufus Borum, Justin Campbell, C.R.A. members, and Deputy Terry Suggs, you are hereby notified that a special call meeting of the Palatka Community Redevelopment Agency has been called to be held on Thursday, September 13th, 2018 at the regular meeting place at City Hall, City Commission Chambers, 201 North 2nd Street, Palatka, Florida. The meeting is called to commence at 4 p.m. The purpose of the meeting is to consider the following items. SHNA recommendation on change to incentive programs. B, direction regarding use of TIP funding for special events. 3, SHNA request for $4,035 for Porch Best funding. Irrigation on St. John's Avenue from Memorial Drive to 4th Street. Please govern yourselves accordingly. We will now have our invocation. We'll have Ms. Triggers do our invocation, and we will ask the pledge by Mr. Griffin. Please stand.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for today's blessings and all your many blessings. We pray that you will help this body come to the best decisions that it can make. We pray that you will help the staff and the public participate in the best way possible. We ask these things in Jesus Christ's precious and holy name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Carol Hill.
Here.
Vice Mayor Mary Ellison Brown. Commissioner Justin Campbell.
Present.
Commissioner Rufus Borum.
Present.
Commissioner Tammy McCaskill.
Here.
Sam Deputy.
Present.
Terry Suggs.
Here.
All members are present and accounted for, and you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Now we'll have public comment. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes. Please fill out a yellow speaker card in the back if you're here for public comment. No action will be taken on topics of discussion. Is there anyone here for public comment? Seeing no one, we will close public comment. Moving the agenda forward, SHNA recommended changes to incentive programs. Mr. Russo, you're on the clock for 10 minutes. Total.
Total for all issues or just
For all, just starting out. Not for you talking.
Okay, all right. Okay, well, Vito Russo, 415 End Street. I very much appreciate the C.R.A. Calling this special meeting. It's not normal schedule, so I do very much appreciate that. The whole neighborhood does. So, the first thing I want to say is that I'm representing the South Historic District, and I feel like my role as president is to be a simple facilitator. I try to disseminate the information to the South Historic District, try to get a consensus, and then try to facilitate that with the community leaders. So I'm speaking here today for the whole district. So the first topic, we're going to talk about the Porch Fest, or the TIP reform.
Reform. We're talking about the first thing that we have on the agenda is changes to the incentive programs.
Okay. So, the Neighborhood Association voted to reform the Southside TIP program. We would like to see 3 of the 4 programs eliminated for a couple different reasons. The residential rehab grant, as we dealt with the last C.R.A. board meeting, I made the argument that it's not needed in our community. I didn't feel like it was we didn't feel like it was an appropriate use of limited resources, and we thought a program like this would be much more appropriate for there doesn't need to be, this program is an incentive that's not necessary, because I've noticed that we're getting mailings from companies looking to buy properties in the South Side. So we already have an incentive for people to come there to invest in these properties. So I want to make that known to the C.R.A. board. So when we had a neighborhood association meeting and we dealt with this issue, we had quite a few people there. We had like 34 people there. That's pretty large meetings. And so I'm up here representing 99% of the South Side that are wanting to reform the South Side TIF programs and put our limited resources into the program that does the most good, the house improvement program. We're just following suit with the North Side. Now I think that's another good argument. I mean, we see that these three programs aren't necessary to revitalize the neighborhood, which is already well into revitalization. The North Side is revitalized and they don't have these programs, so you can argue that these programs are new. These four programs were created by the South Historic Neighborhood Association. They were created by the C.R.A., but on the recommendation of the SHNA. And that was a decade ago. So some of these programs have never been used. And the other two have only been used, I think, once, maybe twice. So that's an argument that they're not really necessary. Now, the TIF programs are normally reevaluated the C.R.A. plan is normally reevaluated every 3 to 5 years. This is a decade-long plan, and it's well overdue to be reformed or restructured. So since we've added these programs 10 years ago, we now have basically re-evaluated the situation, and we'd like to get rid of them, we'd like to eliminate them. So we think this is the normal process that occurs with these C.R.A. plans. So the only other point I would like to make is the fact that these programs are representing very, very small percentages in the South Side. So the residential rehab only applies to 3%, 3 or 4 homes, and the commercial rehab only represents 1%. There's only 2 properties over there. So that's my argument to reform the TIF program on the South Side.
Okay, so currently you got 4 programs in place,
Yes, sir.
and you're more in liking to the HIP program.
Yes, sir.
And so commercial rehab, you got 2 properties, and you got 2 properties in your zone at this point, correct?
Yes, sir. And I'd like to make a point to that. Both those properties are in extremely good condition at this point. So their need of TIF funds is going to be well into the horizon, time horizon. So there are time limits, there are expirations on the TIF program. So by the time these properties would even need any assistance, this is going to be 20 years out.
So having the program in place without the properties having the need, with just not funding the properties during the budget cycle, would that suffice in dealing with what you have to do?
Well, we demonstrated that. I went to the budget workshop. The residential rehab wasn't even listed in the budget, and yet it was funded over the objections of the South District. So we would much prefer to eliminate the programs altogether and follow the North Side's lead and have just the one most valuable program, the house improvement program.
When you build, right? You actually do work on homes yourself, right?
Yes, sir.
And you got a toolbox?
Yes, sir.
You got some tools in there that you don't use, right?
I'm not sure. maybe not. I use a lot of my tools to do a lot of different things. But I understand the point.
My point is, are you going to throw all those tools out your box that you haven't used over the last couple of years, or are you going to keep them there just in case the day comes that you may need them?
Yeah, I'm going to keep my tools, but I don't agree with that analogy.
It's kind of the same.
I have a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Russo, you throw out facts, and I always was taught by Lima Page Smith to show your work. So you say 3%, but I live across the street from the South Historic District, and in my mind, I'm counting the houses, and there seems to be more than 3%. And then you say that the North District is done. Well, I drove through there the other day, and I see some more properties over there that look like mine. So I'm not quite sure, but my question first is, you say that you're representing the whole South Historic District. So my question would be with that is, if we're getting rid of these programs, does the entire South Historic District know that? And how did you communicate that? If I went door to door, how would they tell me that that was communicated to them? Because I don't believe in getting rid of something if they don't know that you're getting rid of it. I don't, if that makes sense.
I think you told me.
Let me give him a chance to respond.
Sure, I'll respond to that.
And then I'll go.
I just want to make sure communication is going.
These programs don't apply to the residences that you're referencing.
They don't apply to the South Historic District?
Commercial rehab is only going to apply to 2 residences, so that's a moot point.
Okay, well then there's
And
2
then
other programs we're talking
Live
about.
where you work, I don't even understand it. Who does? Who understands?
I do. You work and you live nearby. It's part of that old enterprise program that we used to have here, but it's also a program to encourage people to live downtown and work downtown, or those that work downtown to live downtown. So I understand just from the title, but my question, back to my question, which is, has the neighborhood been notified that we want to get rid of these, or you wish to get rid of them? And if so, how were they notified? That's my question.
Well, everyone's encouraged to come to the South Historic Neighborhood Association, so I would say that not everybody does know.
Okay. I just want to ask that question.
But the point is that it's irrelevant, because the commercial rehab only applies to 2 properties over there, just 2. So the 98% or 99%, they won't have any influence or have any interest in the commercial rehab. The residential rehab program only applies to homes that do not have a CO. So that's only 3 or 4 homes in the whole Southside TIF.
How many houses in the South Historic neighborhood, not the association?
Probably about 150.
And how many houses? How many homeowners are in the neighborhood association?
I think we have 35, 37 maybe.
So when you use the 98% mark, are you saying the people that are in the association, or the people that are in the district?
Well, I'm representing the whole district, yes, sir.
So you're saying 98% of those 150 homes?
Yes, I would say so. I'm not sure what criteria you have to say otherwise.
I just asked a question. I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
Commissioner Moore.
Yeah, my only concern was that, again, we keep hearing you saying you want to get rid of the program, but the masses really have not shown. And to Sam's point, that where is the data? Where's the information that's saying that the masses really want to get rid of the program?
Well, the masses are represented by the South Historic Neighborhood Association, just the same as the city commission represents the entire city. Whether or not they come to the city commission meetings or not, you still represent them.
My question was, why didn't you do a petition to your south side?
So
A petition would have probably been the most
think
appropriate thing.
told me that you did a petition.
I actually came across that idea a couple days ago.
Can I ask a question?
But that's just one. Okay. But and I thought we were supposed to talk to Laura Dietrich. We were going to talk to Laura Dietrich about getting rid of the programs or what have you before we got rid of any of the program, whether it was TIF or the HIP or the whatever the program, the commercial rehab. Again, to the mayor's point, we have tools in the toolbox. I think we're better off with them, and we can put something in place, some policy in place to say if we zero fund it, then you cannot utilize the funds out of the budget versus just getting rid of things. There's too many there's too many questions that I have that need to be answered. Well, I'm not comfortable with the masses of the people not being here represented. I'm not comfortable with the petitions not being signed and brought in here for the people that you're representing. That's my only concern.
Okay, I can understand that, but to that point, it's a bit irrelevant. This residential rehab grant program only applies to about 4 houses in the south side. They have to have a CO. I mean, they do not have a CO, but most of the houses do. There's only 3 properties, and if you include Mr. Bergen, that's 4 properties in the whole south side that program applies to. So it's a bit of a moot point.
Wait a minute. So you're saying there's only 4 houses
That don't have a CO.
unoccupied
That's right.
in the South District?
Without
Only
a CO.
4.
Without a CO.
All right, while we're doing that, people
That's in
say,
section 2 of the residential rehab grant.
hold up.
Yeah.
Commissioner McCaskill.
I just don't want to continue to beat a dead horse, but I thought at one point you told me you did some type of petition in the community already. Am I not right about that? You had a certain amount of
The petition
signatures?
was relative to the Porch Fest.
Okay, and is the bed and breakfast a commercial property?
I would assume so. That's the second one that I counted. The Grand Gables bed and breakfast, I assume that went from residential to commercial, and then there's the Duck Realty building. That's
What's the Boathouse Marina?
that would be 3.
And what is the Southern Baptist Business Association? That would be commercial also, right?
I thought it would be religious.
No session. What about the properties that have an opportunity to change their zoning? Potential for properties to go from residential to commercial. Have you thought about those?
No, that hadn't occurred to me because I don't know how that would.
Bartram Inn.
Well, that is a possibility. I guess somebody could convert into another B&B, I suppose.
Well, the Bartram Trail did, so that's another B&B.
But that would require a zoning change, and the city is not apt to pocket different zones like that. So I wouldn't think that would apply.
But if you take, for example, if we take Bartram, for example, if you get rid of this program, it kills the opportunity for that property to be put into place, and it's been of a benefit.
Well,
Mayor.
could you give me an example of?
I
I just gave it to you. Go ahead.
I want to say,
I got you next.
there are some homeowners that I don't think realize that they would qualify for doing that. There are smaller homes and not fancy, they've just been there a long time. It's especially one on Carr Street that I know that family was trying to rehab a few years ago and needed some help, and they did not know that they could have applied for the help through those grants. Somebody's living in them.
Well, Miss Mary, if you go to section 2 of the residential rehab grant program, those homes that you just referenced wouldn't apply because it has to be a structure that's vacant and does not have a CO. And that has a CO, so therefore it wouldn't even apply.
It's a house next to it that's like that somebody might come back and do on the corner of 9th and Carr Street. It's a little house sitting there.
But that house has a CO. You could buy that house and rehab it and move into it. You don't have, it's not.
All right, we've got a limited time. We've only got 2 minutes left on this topic. I want to bring Ms. Boat up. She's been waiting. I want to bring her up for a second. Let her talk. She's filled out a speaker card. I'm going to put your address on the card.
Thank you, I'm sorry. I wasn't sure what the process was.
You're fine.
Patty Boat, 20 South 4th Street. I'm not going to contradict Vito on the south side. I was at the meeting, but I think really what the problem is with the program is not so much as losing those programs as it is the way they're structured. I think we need a workshop to correct the way, when you have a new program like that, and there's people, we'll have a HIP program, there'll be 4 people waiting to have work done on their homes, and then you'll have this program come up. They will fund that program first before the rest of the people, and that creates the problem. So it's not the programs that are the problem, it's the structure of how it's done.
How the cycles work.
Exactly. So it could be first come, first serve, or however we could get it structured correctly where it's fair. I think that it all could work. Because I'm not contradicting you, but I'm just saying that I think that the programs can, but they need to be structured differently, where one doesn't go over top of the other and the other people are waiting and so on. That's just my opinion.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's good. Good recommendation. So I think, with that being said, Mr. Russo,
Yeah.
what I'm hearing, and Ms. Triggers brings up a good point, there needs to be some updating and review. So the question is, Ms. Dietrich's kind of been operating pro bono for the city from the few times she's been here. Seems to be some comfort in with the South Historic Neighborhood Association having Ms. Dietrich involved in the process. What would be the associate? I guess one of the things to take back is to see what the association's position would be on having her look at the existing programs and giving recommendations and updates as to how the programs would work, considering the changes that have taken place since some of those programs were put in place.
We wouldn't disagree with that. That'd be fine. We would welcome that. Because, we want to be fair, but we also want to have the C.R.A. board to seriously consider the will of the people who live in that district. And, as you saw with the residential rehab grant with Mr. Bergen, we have some pretty strong feelings over it, and we can compromise, and I do appreciate the compromise. I do.
But the other part is understanding there's a cost that's probably going to be associated with her coming in and doing work. So,
she loves us, so I don't think there would be any cost involved.
so we'll see.
We'll
We'll see how much love costs.
Yes.
Let's look to bring that back to the commission. Let's look to bring it back to the agency to figure out what the cost of love is and how the offering will be paid for. Does that work?
We'll contact her and we'll bring it back to the October meeting.
Okay, I gave a few extra minutes. I anticipate one of the items won't take as long. Next is direction regarding the TIF funding for special events.
That's me again.
That's you again.
Well, this is actually
No, I don't.
C.R.A. You're up afterwards. Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
so next we look at item 2, which is TIF funding as it relates to special events. Mr. Griffin. I'm sorry, Mr. Griffin. I'll give you a new name. I'll give you a new name.
Thank you for that. Typically in the past, when requests like this have come up, staff have looked at industry standard and other programs that redevelopment agencies are using around the state and around the country. We also used some of the recommendations that Mr. Deputy passed out at the last meeting. We looked at the city of Tallahassee and Caryville. They both had special events grant programs where applicants would submit proposals once or twice a year. So we took a stab at putting together a draft program for your consideration. Obviously, this is just a draft, and if this is something you want to move forward with, we would hope for some input on some of the specifics. Some of those specifics would be how many application cycles, the evaluation criteria, as it's spelled out right now, the maximum grant award, percentage of total budget, and things of that nature.
I don't have it.
It's not in the package, and I apologize for that. You've got a copy of it over here.
It's in my packet.
Why is it in some and not in
Well,
others?
this is the one you emailed me.
Okay, we did email it out. Yeah, can you? I'll be happy to go grab some copies of that, and I apologize.
All right, well, let's do this. Let's, what we'll do,
Say 10 copies.
let's come back to item 2. Let's move to item 3 while we're getting copies of that. South Historic Neighborhood's request for $4,035 on Porch Fest funding. You don't have to give us the history of Porch Fest.
Let me preface this by saying that we had kind of hoped to have a little bit of a resolution on the grant program because this would be something that would fall under that grant program. And it would be something that would, because we've got the $5,000 in the budget, but that's the total amount that we've got in the budget for special events for the South Historic Neighborhood Association. So if you guys wanted to give it all to him under this grant program, that would eat up the entire, $4,035 is what you've got left out of your $5,000 because we've already paid for the special events permit. That was $965.
Okay, I saw the math.
Yeah.
I thought maybe
You
that
had
was
it
going to
under
be,
the wrong tab.
yes, I understand.
So it's not separate, it's all in the same pot?
Yes, I
All
understand.
right, well, let Jonathan know that we've already got it.
So you had it, oh, did we got
Well,
it? It's in the wrong spot.
while we're-
Up, wrong spot.
While we're
Other
asking,
special events are planned for the south side. We only have just the one, just the Penn Sports Fest.
Yeah, there's a potential for others once we open up this grant program.
From the south side?
sure.
Yeah, I mean, part of the,
I mean, it's 150 houses over there.
and part of this, and part of the Riverfront Park is in the
Central-
South
Central
Historic.
I gotta tell you, I don't think anybody in the south side is gonna put the effort out to make a special event, because it is time consuming.
I think Miss C.R.A. has been doing it for a number of years.
That's right, yeah. And part of the Riverfront Park is in the South.
But while we're asking, let me ask this. I only have half the budget, Mr. Russo. I just have the expenses. I don't have the income budget.
Well, that's what we did, what we got.
More now.
Oh, he's telling me it's okay, we found it.
Great job,
Wrong
Chief.
place, yeah.
See, I got this.
I didn't get it. I didn't get it.
We could have requested a greater amount if Mrs. C.R.A. had a, do you have an event?
I have never requested anything for any event.
So that's why we only asked for $5,000 for the Sports Fest, because she didn't ask
No,
for
that
it.
wasn't what you were saying about it. They have done stuff over there before.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
They have
That's not what we're
done,
saying.
she has done other activities over there before. She brought,
Historically,
And she's welcome to come to the SHNA meetings and have a voice. We all want everyone to come
But we
to the
need to
neighborhood
go back.
association.
All right.
to have a voice. And we would plan accordingly.
all right, what we're gonna do is we're gonna shift gears and go back to 2 and come back, come to 3 again, because
Thank you. And
I've got carts and horses in the wrong places
Yeah.
right now. So we're gonna come back to it.
So agency item
It was in the
2
wrong tab,
is on the,
so-
under the wrong tab.
On the 3, right?
Yeah, it's under 3.
So let's go ahead and then we'll definitely come back and have that conversation.
so we on 2 now?
We're on 2, but
But
it's
it's
on
under
3.
tab 3.
Tab 3, Mr.
Yeah.
Gary.
Oh, okay.
Page 2 under 3.
But I looked at, well, may I ask?
Yes, sir.
I looked at, Mr. Griffith, one, I think we need to add in here, because I couldn't find it, that you have to meet with the Special Events Committee.
It is a requirement to have a complete special events application, but we could add that
I think
detail to it.
I think people need to know that, because they need to know that that's a meeting.
So are you proposing to have already had that meeting with the special events committee? Because typically those don't happen this far in advance as the application cycle would.
You know, by the time you're asking for money, you better have things in line, right?
We can request that they,
Yeah.
or make it mandatory.
But I look at what you're able to spend the money for. I'm on page 2. Program money can be spent for food and drinks. I mean, I think this is very, very wide. But I mean, do we want our tax money going for food and drinks? Because I like a good party. And if you're going to buy my steak, I'm going to be there. But I'm looking at this, I'm thinking that I believe that we should be paying for the permits, police, security. I like those things. But you know, paying for equipment, tents, chairs, I'm like, wow. I like paying for marketing outside of our area to attract outsiders, and I like paying for the permits, etc. But entertainment, I mean, you're going to buy my dinner and entertain me. What's the group going to do?
I thought the group was supposed to be doing it's supposed to be reaching out to organizations raising funds for the portion that we did not provide in terms of, and I thought we arrived at 2,500 at one point. Now we're going to amend the 2,500.
No, what you did was you made a motion at the last meeting to approve paying his special events permit fee up to $2,500.
Correct.
Right.
Right.
So his special events permit fee was $965.
Okay.
So his original request was for $500 and $5,000, and he has not amended that. He is still looking for the balance of that $5,000.
Right, but.
So if you want to go ahead and limit it to $2,500, you could do that at this point.
Well, we would stay with what we would do for other events. I mean, if we want to pay for what, like Sam was talking about, things that we're going to be doing with police protection, emergency services, waste removal, all those different things that the taxpayer is paying for, they're not going to be, they could purchase alcohol, they could do a number of other things that we don't know if they get those dollars. So, again, I think, and he was supposed to be raising funds, so we need to not, we got other events that we need to fund as well, possibly, so let's kind of help what we can, and they need to do their part too.
Mr. Deputy.
I like number 2, I like number 5, and I like part of number 4 to pay for, but I'm thinking that if we're going to be paying food, drinks, entertainment, and you're going to give me a tent and a chair, I'm going to retire right there.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of helping, but I think it needs to be limited to those things that you would want to see tax money go to. But then I also have a question with number 1 down below.
Yes.
Can we say religious? Because
Okay.
Exactly.
No,
So that was the question I was just asking.
Yeah.
And so my belief is that you can, and I know why it's there because of this whole concept of separation of church and state,
Yeah.
but I do think that you can still fund religious, faith-based events because you do have situations where government has relationships. As long as you can show it's rationally related to some governmental interest as opposed to just being for the promotion of religion, then it's totally different.
And that would actually, to the Porch Fest, because I do believe that there's going to be a gospel/Christian porch. So that means a portion of the funds will be able to use vice versa. And I think, I'm not for number 1 as well. And I think it contributes to what entertainment is, because who's to determine what entertainment or performers are, as it is laid out, what funds can be used for.
Go ahead, Mr. Russo.
Well, 1, we're not purchasing any food and we're not purchasing any alcohol. The request is to pay the musicians.
It's not just about your event.
right, this
This
is
is
yeah.
this is
Yeah,
everything.
this is a larger thing.
Yeah, we're talking about policy. We're not talking about.
So it's not specified strictly for your event. It's it's in totality
It's a policy, like
across the entire C.R.A. Yes, sir.
And I want to be very clear because whatever we approve, I got news for you. I'm walking through the door.
Oh, we already knew that.
Because I'm in a ton of events.
that was-
Whatever we approve,
That went without saying.
and my
You
church
can
would
first
love to walk through the door.
Well, your church just made a whole bunch of money, so you're going to donate some too.
We're in the anyway.
So anyway,
Yeah.
so that was one. My only issue was looking at it from number 1, just making sure we didn't have that restriction in place because you can have those relationships with faith-based organizations. When you look at even things like National Day of Prayer and things of that nature, you don't want to be restrictive. You can make sure that you put in language that keeps us in compliance with the law overall, but just conceptually, Mr. Suggs, I saw your brain moving then.
Well, I'm just listening. I think I agree with everything that's being said here so far. There are certain things I think that the funds from the C.R.A.
Can't be used for.
Can't be used for, or certain, I don't think equipment rental and chairs and tables is part of that. I mean, that's not.
Or purchase alcohol.
Yeah, personal. I think what the intent was when we first started talking about this 2-3 years ago was permit fees and security and things of that nature. And I think those are things that go to public interest. What food is served and how many chairs is there, I don't believe has anything to do with that. I do believe permit security and things of that nature are.
And then the other part is, and I think putting on the other hat, you have to be conscious when you create the grants, and when we start talking about waivers of certain fees for special events, then you got to understand that the waiver of those fees puts a strain on the entities that are no longer getting those fees, i.e. law enforcement, the fire department, all those other places, and that money that money's coming from somewhere. And so it's still coming out of general fund. And so those are the other things. So when we get into that, and so having a pure pot of money where everyone can budget as to what amounts coming out on an annual basis, I think it creates greater opportunity for all the entities involved to be able to budget, whether that's sanitation, police, fire, public works, whomever it may be, to know exactly what's happening. And so, any additional thoughts? I think this is great framework for a talking point to be tidied up, but this is definitely a good rough draft to get us to where we are. And we thank you guys for the work that you did on that.
Well, going back to the 1 through 6, do we need to give direction as to what we believe we could feel comfortable funding?
Yeah.
Not event, but I love the idea of advertising outside of our area to attract people to Palatka and Putnam County. I think that is fantastic because that leaves dollars here.
Right.
The TDC requires beds and heads, and I hate that because heads and beds or whatever it is, because proving that the head is in the bed is next to impossible.
That's not really. It's
Well, the
for your
hotel-
event it is. It's more
Right.
difficult for events like yours, and that was one of the conversations we had when you left.
Yeah.
But for certain events, it's not, depending on if it's controlled registration.
Yes.
And that's the
Right.
difference when you talk about a festival versus a controlled registration event or conference or something to that effect.
So
It's
I
totally
feel
different.
very comfortable with marketing outside of our county and the city permits and security. I feel real comfortable with those. General liability insurance, I'm comfortable, but I'm not comfortable because depending on what your event's doing, your insurance could be astronomical or your insurance could be small. So you've got a whole issue there according to, events with alcohol, the insurance is way higher. But then so is your security.
But if you got limited budget, it's not coming back.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
True.
I just want to make a couple of comments. Under programs that funds can be used for, there's pretty much a consensus that rentals such as equipment, tents, chairs, tables is kind of out, and food and drinks. Now, as far as the marketing and promotion, there have been a lot of events going on down here at the riverfront or somewhere in the downtown that I had no idea was happening until I saw it going on Facebook while it was happening or after it was over with.
Yeah.
I think that marketing and promotion within Putnam County is just
I
as
absolutely
important
agree with that.
as outside of Putnam County. And that's just my opinion. General liability insurance is something that we require special events to have.
Right.
And so if this body wants to help them fund that, and now it depends on what it is that they're doing as to what kind of a quote they're going to get. You don't have to pay the whole thing, but you can give them some money for that. If you look under programs funds can't be used for, alcoholic beverages is number 10. So they can't use these funds to purchase alcoholic beverages. And I think maybe entertainment and performers is kind of part of special events on sometimes. If there's only so much money to be spent on a special event and you can't eat it up with the marketing and promotion, the permits, film license, that's for, things that are being filmed, and security and general liability insurance. I don't think that entertainment and performers is outside the venue, but that's up to this body, and it's not up to me. So that's all I've got to say.
I think the other thing we got to be conscious of is the money's designed to be seed money, not to fund the events. And one of the things that we talked about just recently in our TDC meeting was the fact that many entities have events that continue on for long periods of time. And the money that was intended to be seed money has become a part of their permanent budget. And we need to make sure we continually really entice people to get support through sponsorships and other things outside of just the seed money and so on. And I think that's a critical piece of that needs to be in place with this.
There is a section that addresses how many years they can apply for funding and what percentage of the funding.
Yeah. 25%
25%.
is what I saw.
5 years, I believe.
Fiscal sustainability plan is one of the requirements.
Right.
Yeah.
Any other comments, concerns? So let me ask you, so it sounds like 1 and 6 are the ones that we want to scratch for on the top part?
Yeah.
Or is it just, or just incorporate 6 into 10? Add 10 to the top part of 6?
What about 3?
Entertainment performers.
So,
Basically kind of gave us but we still can decide whether or not we want to, but she kind
so
of gave
just
us
for the purposes of giving direction to staff, number 1, which these are the ones that I've heard thus far. Number 1, rental of equipment, tents, chairs, tables, facilities, portalets. In or out?
Out.
out.
Right side. Out. By consensus. Marketing promotions in, sounds like.
Yes.
Yeah. We're fine with that. With the, knowing that marketing can be done outside to draw in. Number 3, in or out?
Out.
Out.
Right side.
Now,
Well,
That-
I wanna, wait a minute.
You're
I'm
right.
kind of
You're
iffy
outvoted.
about that.
It doesn't
Yeah.
matter, you're outvoted. It's like 6 to 1 right
Okay.
now. But now, go ahead and tell us.
We might change somebody around.
yeah, I'm in
No, we-
this way.
Yeah.
Well,
But I think
5 to 2, I'm
Campbell
sorry.
was Campbell was kind of on board a little. Am I right?
No.
He's kind of.
It's one of those fine lines. And not everybody likes the same entertainment.
Sport 3.
He's a mess.
I'm not counting him, I was counting me. I'm on your side.
Okay.
So would you want to
So-
leave it in? So
Out.
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 These
By,
two.
by show of hands, out.
I
Well,
don't know.
can we raise them on both? Because it's really, this is one of those things that may be the draw.
Yeah.
So let's,
Well, are we paying for we're paying for entertainment and performers. Now, that's coming out of,
I just feel when we give people money, we can't.
I'm 50-50 on that. I can go with that, I guess. I mean,
Let me,
3.5 to 3.5.
can I ask a question of the attorney, Mr. Mayor?
yeah,
Which one?
yeah, we need to ask him a
The one that's
question.
getting paid,
The one
right?
that's getting paid.
Yeah.
Both of y'all get paid.
And I
Not
asked
big
this,
book.
and I asked this for a reason.
Yeah.
You got number 3, it says entertainment, performance.
Mm-hmm.
Then number 4, you got film license.
Film license?
Yes, sir. I mean, that's, to me, that could be
Yeah.
a form of entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of concerned
Wow.
about one or the other here.
Are you thinking royalties?
No,
You said
'cause-
some license.
no, you have to pay, when you show a film,
Certain movies.
you have to pay for the rights to show that film.
Can we just put a cap as to how much we will be willing to put for entertainment purposes?
So, I would suggest the more regulations and the more specific you get down with what you can and cannot, someone has to audit all of this, and someone has to be sure that each person that applies is making sure, and then you have to follow up to make
Right.
sure that they use that money
Right.
on this. I mean, that's just, I'm kind of thinking in that mind. So whenever you're putting all these regulations and these specifics down, make sure that you understand that someone has to enforce that,
Thank you.
and they have to come back and they have to be sure that we're
Thank
keeping
you
up
for
with that.
volunteering.
Thank you.
That sounds
Ow.
like this may be administered like a grant process than a reimbursement process.
Yes, I mean, so
Reimbursed on an invoice.
so that's why maybe you pick a cap
Okay.
based on a classification, like the special events class.
Oh, we-
They have to have a budget, they have to have all these different things, but then kind of just put a cap on it and send it on its way.
Give 'em
I don't
money.
know. That's
Would that
just-
not be, I don't know how the realignment of staff is going, but I saw in the paper the cultural arts person, full-time and assistant, would that not fall under their purview because that's special events?
Not in the way you're thinking.
Okay. Okay.
We probably got into the weeds, perhaps.
Okay.
We are far
Yeah.
into the weeds. We're actually in the soil. in fact. So, yes, sir.
Thank you, Congressman.
You're fine right there.
Thank you. At 25% of the total budget, I think you'd be fine limiting it to marketing and city fees and permits.
Okay.
They're going to have to come up with 75% of their budget anyways, and from a staff perspective, it's a whole lot easier doing a grant for city fees, because we already have to tabulate and track that.
So this conversation made you go back and think about it.
Right. So you're
Good job.
you're saying 2 and 5.
No, actually.
No, 2 and
4.
2 and
4 and
4.
4.
2 and
What
4.
about security and general
General
liability
liability.
insurance?
What I heard was move 1, 3, and 6 down to program funds can't be used for.
Okay.
Modify number 4 to read permits and city fees and licenses. And leave marketing and promotion and security and general liability insurance. Again, it's 25% of the total budget, the
exactly
maximum
right.
grant award. I think it's a moot point.
Yeah.
Okay.
But now those city fees include police.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Oh, and that's in the special events.
Okay, I'm just asking. I
Yeah.
want to be clear.
Because he's already got those paid for.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
About that 965, right?
All right.
I like that.
By consensus. Very well. Moving forward. Anything else? Government budgets.
Okay.
Seeing no more conversation as relates to this item, we will move the agenda to item 3. Mr. Russo, your request.
Same name, same address.
Same event.
Yes, well, we very much need seed money to get this annual event up and running. We very much, and we have worked diligently to generate the revenue to do it. We're coming up short.
Give them the good news about what this has to be.
So we were able to get, the TDC was very supportive, and it did allocate the full grant that we applied for, which was just a little shy of $2,900, and that's going to cover the most of the promotion and the insurance.
2882, right?
Yes, 2882.
Pending approval from the county commission.
Yes, but we're still coming up short. And we have passed out in excess of 60 sponsorship forms trying to solicit support for the event. And we're coming up short.
How many, what's your tally on sponsorship?
4,000.
You got 4,000 in sponsorships thus far?
Yes. 4,000. And then with the 28, it's around up to 30, or 3,000. So we've got 7 total. This is $11,000. So if we could get the, what we're asking for with the Southside TIF funds, Southside TIF funds, correct me if I'm wrong, Jonathan, I think it's 109,000 coming at us this year. So we're asking for less than 5%. It's going to have a major impact on revitalization. And we know this from the experience that Jacksonville Springfield Historic District is having. This is their signature event, and this is having a major revitalization effect upon the Springfield Historic District. It's going to have no less of an effect on our community. And I think the whole point of Community Redevelopment Agency, the purpose is to promote that redevelopment, and this is in line with that.
So let me ask you a question, so that I can get the information. When you say a major revitalization effect, what exactly are you envisioning as the gain in so many ways?
Well, we believe in the philosophy that if we change our culture in a positive way, we're going to, by default, change our condition in a positive way. And we can do that in part through the arts. The arts, as we all know, everybody loves music. It draws people in. And if our community basically makes somewhat of a commitment to having more music festivals, that is going to have a very good PR upon our community. And so this is a proven, beautiful, family-friendly event. And I
potential purchasers in, or to the end of it to be the purchases, or how many? I mean,
We're going to have thousands, and this is an annual event. If we can get it up off the ground, it's going to be an annual event. I will not have to come to the C.R.A. board the third year. The third year, I will have, people will be knocking on our door to be involved in this beautiful family-friendly event. And so we just need seed money this year and probably next to get this thing up and get some inertia going, and then we'll be independent of the C.R.A.
You're spending too much time selling the event. The event is sold. You sold us on the event.
But if we don't come up with the C.R.A. funds, we're not going to have the funds to get it, to have it. I mean,
well, why? So I'll ask the question then. I don't know if anybody else ever will, and I'm just playing devil's advocate for a little bit.
Me too.
What were your intent? Because at one point I remember you saying that this event wouldn't take any city dollars, wouldn't take any C.R.A. dollars. You were going to zero fund. This event was going to be strictly funded by outside dollars.
Eventually,
Right. You said that in the beginning.
That's-
So, but listen to me.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is, I'm curious, and I know we've had conversations on it, and I like the event, and I'll be the first to tell you. What has caused you to fall short of what your initial projection was, where you could raise all the money, to now the numbers have kind of changed? What do you believe it is?
well, I don't agree with the premise. I don't agree.
You said it wouldn't cost anything, and you could
We came
get
back
all
in
the money from
26
outside sources.
Well, in 2016, we were pulling this thing together on very short notice, and we needed to hold 10,000 to put the show on.
You said it like 6 months ago. This was 17.
We've always thought that we would use C.R.A. funds in part, and we're only asking for less than half of what it takes to put on the event, and I think that's an appropriate start. Eventually, we would move into maybe 75%, and then by the third year, we probably have the whole thing. But we do need that seed money. It's just critical, and it's not for the lack of effort on our part. I have printed out and handed out 60 different sponsorship packets that explain. It has a cover letter, it has a flyer that describes the event, it has a picture of what it looks like up in Jacksonville, and it has a map of the South District where it's going to be located, and then the backside is the sponsorship form.
Last question from me, and then I'll pass it on.
Yes, sir.
Do you need the money in the form of a grant, or do you need it in the form of a loan, which is kind of like what Bartram did for their event, and it gained momentum?
Yeah. So we need the grant. We need the grant. We have a very plan.
Okay.
Question.
Mr. Deputies first, and then board member.
So you have 28.8 from the TDC, 4,000 in sponsorship, and 965 from the cities, from the C.R.A. so far. So according to this, you're 3,222 short. But the budget is still just half there. I don't see the income side, because I know you're selling alcohol. So where is the income side? What is the projection of income, and is that the only income source that you have? And does the South Historic District, I guess my other question is, the South Historic Association Treasury, what is their input in this, and what is their input in this, and what funds do they have in their treasury?
The SH&A funds are not available for this event. SH&A funds have already been allocated to other programs, other projects that we have on the south side. We have other projects in the works that we're going to need those funds for. As an example, we have the first thing that happened in 2018 is that we changed the bylaws of that organization, and we brought in some professional bylaws. Then we corrected our registration with the Division of Corporations. We corrected our registration with the Division of Agriculture, and we corrected our registration with the Division of Revenue, with the state, and got us straightened out with the state.
So you have
We can own property now.
But you have no, okay, I'm understanding what you're saying, but that's not my question. My question is, and the answer would be, you have funds or you don't have funds within the group, is what I'm asking.
Yes, we have funds in the group, but they're already allocated to a bigger project for this whole community, not just the South Side. The South Historic Neighborhood Association has a vision, and the vision is We are going to generate $1,000 a month revenue stream through this organization. And we're going to take those funds and we're going to invest those funds not only in the South Historic neighborhood, we're going to take those funds and we're going to push them into other neighborhoods as a way of contributing to the revitalization of those neighborhoods. This is a vision that we have already agreed upon and we are working towards. We need the funds that we currently have in reserve for that. Undoubtedly, we're going to get a piece of property that's going to need a lot of money invested in it, and we're going to need those funds for that investment.
Okay. Gotcha. We got that. So now, let's go back to the, well, I need that last question is, I don't have anything that shows me income yet. What is the income of this event? How did you put, I mean, what income streams do you have coming in besides the $4,000 in sponsorships? That was my other question.
We're not selling anything but beer and wine. And that is and we're not purchasing up front any alcohol. We're not purchasing any food either. We want the C.R.A. funds, the 5% allocated to the Porch Fest, strictly for paying the musicians. That's all it's for. It's very, very straightforward.
So you have no income, you're projecting no income other than sponsorships, even from alcohol?
So no ticket sales, right?
No.
No, it's free event.
Okay, but now the alcohol is not free.
No. The alcohol is not free.
Okay.
Can we not just...
Go ahead.
Well, I just want to get the whole picture.
So the people that are going to participate in the event are going to bring a canned good that's going to be donated to the Christian Service Center. I'm sorry, my name's Northside resident.
Just give her your address so she has for the record.
405 Olive Street.
You're fine.
So the people that are coming are going to bring a canned good, so they're going to...
So free admission with a canned good.
Exactly. Okay. Feed the Need is going to help serving the alcohol in the afternoon, and a portion of those proceeds are going to pay for the alcohol with that vendor. That's going to be a fundraiser for Feed the Need. They're also going to have a table there to do, I think they're going to sell some water. It's going to be a pet adoption. The American Legion's going to be there. The high school band's going to be there. So it's a really huge community event. It's going to show Palatka as a team players and helping one another. And that's where the revenue is.
So there is, in other words, the South Historic District is gaining nothing from the alcohol sales. Feed the Need is.
That's what you said.
She said the canned goods are going to go towards to feed the needs,
Right.
so they can help feed the community.
She said a portion. She didn't say all.
Yeah,
And
that's
I
what.
don't know. Vito would have to answer that
Okay.
question.
A portion, right? She said a portion.
A portion. Okay.
Right. And
And the food vendors are going to be asked to also donate to the Christian Service Center. So they're going to make their own income, their own expenses. We have nothing to do with that. But a portion of their proceeds, we need to go back to our communities.
Okay. Mr. Deputy, anything else?
No.
Commercial Board, and then we come to Ms. Triggers, and then I'll come to you.
All right.
After Homestead.
Just looking at the budget, and if that's the estimated cost of the budget, $11,067, just the promo is 26%. The band is 42%. The miscellaneous is 19%. When you look at your miscellaneous, is that something that who's paying for that? And if you look at those each of those items, I mean, I have a problem with paying for some of that stuff. Some of that can be adjusted, I think. The city has already committed 9% to the budget. I have a problem with giving more monies to, when I look at your itemized budget, can anything not be adjusted?
No, that is fixed. I mean, believe me, Jacksonville puts their Porch Fest on for $15,000.
We're not
We're putting it on for 11. That conveys the idea that we are running a very, very tight ship. That's what it conveys.
But Springfield's got 20 times more houses.
800,000
Springfield
people
goes
in
from
Jacksonville.
I-95 all the way to Talleyrand, back to First Street on Florida Avenue, coming the opposite way, back past Union to Myrtle. I mean, so we're not talking the same neighborhood.
But the Jacksonville Porch Fest isn't throughout the whole Springfield Historic District. The Springfield Historic District has a major road that cuts it off from the east side to the west side. The west side is adjacent to Cluthville Park. That's the side that has the Porch Fest. And by the way, that side is smaller. That is smaller in area than the South Historic District.
But their C.R.A. funds are 10 times bigger. That they're 100 times bigger because 10 times more than that.
Well, I think that if we look at this budget, we see that we are running a very, very tight ship. These are all very accurate. This is an accurate budget. And this is, this is it's accurate. It's shopped around. It's a low ball number.
How many bands are already paid? I mean, how many bands have already paid for versus the bands that
We haven't paid a single band yet.
But how many do you have commitments for?
We have 12 or 13.
So that's, if you
14
have 12 or
torches.
13
We're
torches already sponsored, because I remember when we met that you said that the torches were already taken care of, because I volunteered to support one porch myself.
Yes, we have half. We have basically basically 8 porches sponsored as half.
I was gonna say, because he didn't tell me that he had all the porches sponsored, because I am going to sponsor one, but you didn't. I don't even remember 8 being sponsored at the time.
My conversation that we had was that the musician or the porches would have basically taken care of themselves.
No. The average cost of a band, just the average. And we have some porches that have 1 musician, some that have 6. But the average is $350.
$250.
That's right. That's right. $250 is what we're asking. Because we basically segregated out sponsors that are going to be small businesses that would sponsor a porch for $250. For that $250, we spend $50 of it to generate a banner for them. So we're only clearing $200. The average cost of the band is $350.
Hold on, one at a time.
Most bands have banners. If they are a legit band or if they are a legit organization, they have banners. I'm saying this simply because I'm with music. So, in a lot of things, churches, they have banners. So, what changed happened since we had our meeting where I said I was going to sponsor $250 for a porch? What's the difference or what change occurred since then?
Well, no, it was very consistent. We were always going to supply for the $250 a banner, and so we always asked everyone to give us their logo so that the banner had porch sponsored by that business or that individual. Their logo and our logo.
All right, we're deep in the weeds. Commissioner Holmes and then Commissioner Murkowski.
I have a big picture question. Based upon your budgets and your projections, do you expect to generate what I'll call a profit? When you get through, do you expect to have money in your account generated by this event?
Don, that would be a function of how many people show. So it's hard to tell. It's really hard to tell.
It's based on expectation.
I assume you've told us that you're going to have thousands attend.
Well, who knows? But to that effect, I mean, we've associated, as Ms. Byers has indicated, we've associated the event very strongly with community service nonprofits. That's one way of penetrating the community and getting the message out and trying to bring people in. Another one was getting the high school band. That's going to draw a lot of families down into the event. I'm sorry?
I'm quite sure that's not going to be a cost either.
Well, we want everybody to benefit from the event, so we are going to contribute to the high school band program.
So, well, have you done a projection? Have you come up with a projection, even basic, as to what your costs are going to be, what your range of revenue is going to be, low and high, and if you end up with a surplus, what do you intend to do with the money?
Well, as Ms. Byers mentioned, a portion or all of it, depending on how much is raised, is going to be given to Feed the Need of Putnam County to address the childhood food insecurity issue that we have in our community. So,
I mean, next year we're going to be back at the ground level trying to do the same thing that we're doing now, right?
The answer is yes, there has been at least a projected budget submitted to TDC, which show projected revenues and some revenues and debts.
But there wasn't anything on there.
Forgive me for being legal for a minute. I'll talk in legalities for a minute, but remember, we're talking about C.R.A. funds.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
C.R.A. funds have to be tied to the C.R.A. plan. There's no doubt that there's an Attorney General's opinion that states that C.R.A. funds, and I think Ms. Driggers was kind enough to provide it. I suspect that was you, Ms. Driggers, that provided it. No doubt that C.R.A. funds can be tied to an event for promotion and so forth. But the problem I've got from a legal perspective is C.R.A. taxpayer money, and it is taxpayer money. It's taxpayer money. C.R.A. taxpayer money going to a funded event, which generates profit, which the event then decides to pay to somebody else, even if it's a worthy cause. From my perspective, at that point, there's a legal issue because do you follow where I'm going? I'm not,
To that point, hasn't we already set a precedent, though? I mean, the Central Business Tip had $25,000 allocated to festivals, and those were for-profit festivals. So I think the community's already established a precedent on the use of these funds for an event, and we're a nonprofit.
I'll leave my opinion as I stated it and let it go from there.
Just 1 second. I've had Commissioner McCaskill wait like 7 minutes before, and I thought you were leaving at 5.
I was.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know that you said you sent out 60 different sponsorships. Am I right? You sent out 60 different sponsorship forms. Am I right?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
He sent out 60
Sponsorship
sponsorship
letters.
Yes, I printed
and
out
14 of those were offered for the porches for $250, which will bring in $3,500. Am I right?
If we can get sponsors for all
So there
the
were
porches.
different ones. Was it 60 for the porches?
It's $250 per porch, but we only have 7 or 8 sponsors for porches at this point in time. So we're only half. I just keep hustling and try to get the other half before December 1st.
So really,
But at the
so
moment,
that's
we don't have it.
15,000.
Right, because he said he had 4,000 in sponsors.
Mr. Mayor,
That's what I
Mr. Mayor,
thought.
I'm looking at the Palatka Porch Fest 2018 Music Festival budget estimates dated August 23rd, 2018. We've got city services, police department, fire department, public works, sanitation, city permit fee at $965. It shows it's been paid. We have promotions, social media, newspaper ads, banners, posters, yard signs, and T-shirts for staff. $2,850. I see there's a note down here, TDC. I'm assuming someone went to the TDC and got money.
2882.
Okay, then we got miscellaneous. And this is where I have my heartburn. We just talked about what the C.R.A. fund should pay for and shouldn't pay for on festivals. Under miscellaneous, you have flyers. No issue with that because that's marketing. Mailings. Okay, marketing. Portalets, cell phones, and two-way radios. And then we have a miscellaneous category. That comes up to $2,095. I don't believe we need to be paying for cell phones and radios. That's a given. And I'm certainly not going to authorize on my vote to pay for miscellaneous for $250. There's a liability insurance down here for $457, and then there's a band for $4,700 for bands. And I got a note here that says the sponsorships. If you look at all of that, it comes up to about $3,200. But then we need to back out the things that I don't think that we talked about earlier in our item 2, what we should and shouldn't pay for. That's just my opinion, but I think there's things in this budget that is not C.R.A. public dollar worthy.
What's your numbers of the things that you want to back out?
I'm looking at $75 for a cell phone. I'm looking at $300 for two-way radios. I'm looking at $250 for miscellaneous and $1,320 for portalets.
That's $1,945.
And those were my points too, but the percentages.
So what's the total of the things that are in there still?
Oh, I have to do the math, sir. Give me a minute.
The request of the Southside Tip Funds for the music festival is to pay the musicians. That's what it's for. It's not for miscellaneous. It's to pay the musicians. The musicians cost $4,700, $5,000. We're requesting $5,000.
But you already have money, or you already have sponsors that state, so that number is not 4,700.
Yes, it is 4,700.
How, when you already, okay, so my 250 takes away from this 4,700, and what I'm hearing again, there's a total of $500 that's coming from this dais with the commitment of Commissioner Commissioner
McCaskill.
The sponsor, we're not associating it.
But you're asking us for an amount
that you already have funding that is going to come in for that. So
No, we're assuming that the sponsorship money for the porch is going to the musicians. That's not a correct association. The porch sponsorship
so
is
what's the
for advertisement.
$4,700 for the band?
The money's coming. Well, we would like the money for the bands to come from the Southside TIF funds. That's very, very. It keeps everything very simple. The $250 that sponsors the porch is advertisement.
Y'all paying $250 for advertisement?
Yes.
I thought the bands were gonna be on the porches, and that's what, sorry.
You said you already
I'm
got
sorry,
14 bands already in that $4,700.
The bands cost $350 on an average.
This is
The porch sponsorship is $250 minus
this
the
is
$50.
going less really fast.
But we said that we would not, we've already said today that we would not do entertainment.
Right, but I'm still addressing the issue because now I feel, let me remove my personal self out of this. If we're requesting $4,700 for bands, and you said that that's what this request is for, are we hearing the same thing? But you already have commitments to take this musician $4,700 down, even if you have 8 already that have commit, still not a request of $4,700 that you would need, even if we were to approve it.
I don't associate the porch sponsorship with directly paying the bands. It's just a way of generating revenue, and we're only following the lead of Jacksonville.
Where's the money going?
It's going to go to miscellaneous.
To the general budget. You're just paying for a sponsorship.
No, the sports sponsors, that's going to generate only $3,000 if we sell every single one of them. And so the $3,000, we have other expenses besides the bands. So the bands, the way we thought of it is that the Southside TIF funds, $5,000, which is why we came up with the number 5,000, was to pay the bands.
But if you got 3,000, if you sell every porch, you get 3,000.
35.
Well, 3,500, and you got 4,000 already in sponsorship. You're at 75.
75.
And then you back out everything else that you're showing. You're ahead of the game.
And say
so
20 of those other 46 that you sent out, the 60, they respond.
But we already had 4,000.
My thing is, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'll say my thought.
I'm looking at more information that keeps getting provided to me here tonight by staff. The requests are for $4,700 from C.R.A. I believe that's correct. $4,000 in sponsorships, $2,882 coming from TDC. That's $11,582. The entire budget request was $11,067. So that in itself puts us $515 more than what's required for the project itself. So I think we really need to hone in on what those fees are that the city C.R.A. dollars, these public taxpayer dollars, need to be expended on this project. I understand the intent, I understand the marketing, I understand the supposed 1,000 or more visitors to the C.R.A. district and our city of Pike. I understand all that. I get all that. But we're not comparing apples to apples here tonight. We're already looking at giving more money than what the project costs. I won't support that. I can tell you that as a C.R.A. member. So what we need to do is we need to look at the costs that are associated with these public dollars and make a motion for that. Is what I think we need to look at.
I just wanted to add to this, going back to the city attorney's statements and kind of what I heard when I heard that this is all fundraising for very worthy causes, especially Feed the Need. But it seems like if the city gives you all the money, or most of the money, you got a lot of it from TDC, the city gives you a lot of the money to pay for your expenses, and then you take the money and you give it to charities. Why aren't we just writing a check to the charity, I guess is the thing. But we are getting a benefit because there's entertainment involved with it. And I think that the city attorney can speak better to all of this And I'm very involved with fundraisers for various things. I chair a golf tournament every year where we're selling $250 hole sponsorships. We have to, attract golfers. There's another $250 for a team. We run around and we find sponsors. We sell all manner of things. We don't have any money coming in that we haven't already generated through, selling sponsorships or selling golf or we find a sponsor for lunch, find a sponsor for breakfast, and then whatever is left over, from your, income and your expenses, whatever is left over, that's your funds that you've raised, and that's pretty typical amongst all the fundraisers that I've been involved with. You just say, okay, well, I got to sell X amount in order to earn X amount, and if we get more money than what we spent, that's our fund. That's our funds. So, and I think that's what they're saying.
We have no idea what revenue is going to be generated in this event, especially in the very first year. By the third year, we'll have some data with which we can, make a legitimate estimate on. But, at this first year, there's so many variables, it's hard to tell how many are going to show up and how much revenue might be generated. I mean, the idea of generating revenue, well, we want to create synergy with nonprofit service, community service organizations. That's something that Ms. Byers brought to this event. And we have embraced that, and we have really put a big effort into doing that. In fact, we have 10 nonprofit community service organizations involved in this. We need help to help the community, and that's what we're asking for. We need your help to help us help the community. That's the whole point of the event. The whole point is to contribute to the culture of our community, to contribute to the revitalization of the community. Half of our community is in poverty. Half. This is unacceptable to some people. It is to me. And so we should be open, and we should be throwing the kitchen sink at trying to mitigate the suffering that's in our community.
But I don't think that's
this is part of that.
I don't think that's the issue.
That's not the issue. That's not the issue.
I would even go to the extent of saying in your first year, it's kind of hard for you to give to something, and I'm not against charities. But because again, we're going to be back at the same position next year when you're trying to do Porch Fest again. We all want to see it. I'm committed because I've said I'm doing it, so it's not that I don't want to see it happen. However, the first year, I would have preferred to hear you say the money that we raise, if any money, is going as a cushion towards the next year's event. I would have preferred to hear that and would have been a little bit more in kind. But right now, we're at the point to where the money that you do make, if you're making it, you're giving it away, and then you're going to be back before us again. Not to include the money that you're getting from vendors that we haven't even heard about.
Justin, you just gave us our solution. You just gave it to us. Any revenue that's generated, we're going to keep it for the next year's Porch Fest, and we would basically donate to feed the need through our own fund. There's the solution.
Well,
there's the solution.
Well, see now, but you told us that.
All right.
See,
So,
my problem is
I got you.
this group doesn't want to put any of their own treasury money into this.
So, let's do this.
But now you've got money that you can donate to it, and I'm all for that. But see, I don't see where the group has skin in the game. Because if you run short or you overrun the budget, where will the funds come from?
That's not going to happen. This is a very accurate budget.
So you've never had a surprise. I've done many events, and I know there's always a
The built-in
surprise.
surprise is the miscellaneous $250. That's the built-in.
Okay. We have now completely dissected this event piece by piece.
Too much.
From the first penny to the last penny. And so what's the number that you had, Mr. Suggs?
The number out of the third category there for flyers, mailings, comes to, that was a simple number, that's 150. Then you got 457 for liability insurance. It looks like everything else has been paid by the city or TDC already except for the bands. So, we're talking less than $600 on this budget sheet alone.
Yeah.
You got $965 that's already paid. Okay, take that completely out. You've got $2882 coming from TDC. He's got $2,095 in this one category, but again, that includes $250 in miscellaneous, 300 for cell, radios and 75 for cell phones. You know, I just don't know if those are worthy of C.R.A. dollars.
Yes.
My only issue, hold on one second. My only issue is, I mean, clearly, in Mr. Russo's defense, I think Mr. Russo oftentimes has proven that he has not completely put this budget together. But this being his first time doing an event of this nature, he hasn't put the budget together in numbers like they should be. And you can all but anticipate there are some costs on there that aren't in that budget. I think there are some places on that boat that have been missed. And so, and it's a work in progress to say that the target continues to shift. So while there are numbers there, I don't think those numbers are hard and fast. Just based on what I'm hearing, I think it's a novel attempt at trying to put together a budget for a festival when it's not necessarily your forte. And so I think in all fairness to him, when you lock him in totality to those numbers, we can all anticipate that some of those costs just haven't been even envisioned because it's your first time doing it. Would you agree with that, Mr.
That's
Deputy?
what I was trying to say.
And so I think locking him hard and fast into those numbers is hard to do. I understand what our position is and what we're doing. And so I think there is some marginal room for error in there in the course of what we're doing. What that number is, I don't know. I think there becomes, I think what we've got in place, and I think just going back and doing some housekeeping, we've given staff the recommendations for the program, but we haven't officially adopted them by way of motion. On number 2, as it related to the incentive programs, but it seems as though that's a consensus from the organization. So at this point, I guess the question is, for this agency, what are we willing to do, understanding that Porch Fest is a worthy event? I think I've got concerns that the budget isn't squared up, or at least that we haven't anticipated a lot of the other things that are out there. And you can all see gaps in the budget from what it is. So what is it that the agency wants to do? I know a couple weeks ago we were thinking 2,500, and now today that number has changed. And so, yes, sir.
Okay, so let me make an earnest attempt to be fair. And if we go back to what Commissioner Bourne said and what we talked about in previous meetings, we put out the number of $2,500 that we can give. We've already paid $965, which there is a remaining balance of $1,535. If we say we're just going to cap it at $2,500 for this event, which we know the additional $1,553 can be used to whatever he feels, or we could say it can be used to whatever we name. That'll be fair because we put out we put out $2,500 before. So if I need to make it in a motion, I make it.
Before you make the motion, would that include the restrictions for use of the dollars that we've already said that we would have?
As you stated, that we have not, by way of adoption, accepted what we just talked about. So from this point forward, this is closing the door that should have been closed, and we're opening a new door from this point forward. So again, I will make the motion that we approve $1,535 to be used at the discretion of the Southside Historic District for Porch Fest.
Second.
Discussion. On the discussion, if you don't place restrictions on those items, you're going to find yourself.
Dollars must be spent with invoices that applies to what.
But as of now, there's nothing.
We haven't adopted
what we previously talked about.
We need to adopt.
But you can put those restrictions in your motion.
Right.
They don't have to necessarily be, even though it hasn't been fully adopted. You understand what the foundations are.
Make your restriction. Put your restrictions in.
The restrictions of what though? If there's restrictions
what we're going to adopt, it's going to apply to whatever.
So we're saying that I'm approving the $1,535.
Based on what we're going to
adopt.
discussed. You get it?
Based upon our
So
discussion.
you can say So you-
A 1, 3, and 5, or whichever ones we decided
I
to work
say-
on.
But you can say that by way of, I mean, I would feel comfortable, for me, where it can be used for rentals of things such as like the number 1.
3 and 5, was it 1, 3, and 5?
No, we
I'll
cut
just
out.
spend it on the musicians.
Where
It's real
is it?
simple.
No,
But
on
I'm just
2,
saying we
marketing, for marketing promotions, entertainment, and security, general liability insurance.
Right.
So,
Well, the thing
Whatever
that
we
said-
approve, yeah.
Right, so, the things that we agreed by consensus were
Correct.
marketing promotion,
Marketing, city fees, and permitting.
permits, film, and security and general liability insurance.
okay, so I will put those in my motion,
Yes.
which is identified as 2 is marketing and promotion, including advertising, printing, flyers, banners. Number 4, which is permits and film licenses, and number 5, which is security, general liability.
Right, correct.
Is
2, 4, and 5, okay.
is there a second on that
Second,
motion?
yeah, I already second.
Okay, so we got a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any further discussion? Questions called. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously.
So please inform me what just happened.
You got $2,500 with
Minus the 965.
minus the 960, minus the 963. You got 2,500 in total, including what you got previously, and you got, and it can be used for marketing promotions, permits, film license, security, general liability.
No musicians?
Well, just swap some money from another thing and put over.
Whatever he spend those dollars on, it needs to come back with the invoice, right?
It covers it.
Yes, just say thank you.
I need some direction.
Yes.
So if we're giving him this and there are all the restrictions, Mandy's going to have to ensure that this money is being used for that. So is this a reimbursement?
We need him, what we're gonna do invoice, right?
Because we're gonna have to have accountability. If you're putting these restrictions, then we have to have accountability on what it actually was being paid for.
What-
Therefore, we at least need a estimate or a quote.
So we can do it.
or-
Okay, so
But we can do it. We can do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to make sure that, because typically we don't we reimburse.
Okay, well, let's get with, our city
Like
attorney.
for the C.R.A., like HIP and that sort of thing, we don't just give someone
Right.
money.
That's
We
right.
reimburse.
Right.
Okay, so
Question, you got the resources in your fund to pay it and get reimbursed? In your
Yes,
in
for
your
that
association fund?
Yes, for that amount, yes.
He said that little, he said that little.
To 4th Street, Mr. Griffith, do you want to take it or you want me to take it?
You can take it. I mean,
Just briefly, we've got a group of local business owners who have, again, I think I mentioned it before, who linked to funding to do landscape from the riverfront to 4th Street. And the issue that we had in place is irrigation. Is making sure that irrigation makes sure that the landscaping would, and that's the only issue. Do you have a projected cost of what that land's going to be?
Yeah, so what we did to kind of facilitate the donation, we agreed to work directly with the landscape contractor. We've got 2 quotes from 2 different vendors right now. We're still waiting on the boring quote from Southern Directional because we obviously don't want to have to cut up our roads to connect the different landscape islands. But a total cost of $17,000 with approximately $9,365 of that being for the landscape donation.
So we're looking at $76.35 for us.
Yes, sir.
And how much of that was previously? Was there any money previously budgeted for landscape?
There will be some funds left in the landscape line at the end of this year. We're most likely going to have to come back to the C.R.A. board once Ms. Becker has had a chance to reconcile the budget. We can reallocate those funds to the proposed landscape budget line and probably incorporate this into that.
What did we have left in the landscape budget from last year for CBD?
You don't have an actual.
I don't have an actual to date, no.
Yeah,
That was 6 months.
Ballpark?
At 6 months, we were at, $3,000 at 6 months. So almost,
I see that.
yep.
So this is being donated, and this
I'm confident you should be able to incorporate that cost with the savings from this year and what the budget for next
You
year.
have 5,000, was it for next year?
Okay, we'll
There's,
that.
for next year, 29,000 for next year in landscaping.
And that, some of that was already anticipating putting irrigation in, right?
We expected that we should be able to incorporate some of that cost.
So we anticipated having that in place. Mr. Deputy, I hear you thinking out loud.
I'm thinking out loud. A couple questions. So we're saying that there is a donation of $9,365, and we need to come up with $7,635. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So then my question with the irrigation, I still ask, because everything happens 0 to 4th, and the majority of us downtown are not 0 to 4th. We're 4th to 11th. And I still don't have a tree across the street from the hurricane. And I still have dead branches, and I have a tree on my building.
They cut the branches last month.
No, they started, but they didn't get past the first block.
So how do we, so this is the
So my question with that is I understand this, but are we going to put irrigation all the way down St. John's Avenue? I mean,
Well, you can't do it in stages unless you start with the first stage.
I understand that. So, but if we're going to do
So
that,
you wanna
we
start
could
on
start
7th
with the
Street and work our
11th
way-
block and work back.
So, but there's no water on the 11th block. That's going to be a draw. So so with all that being said, I mean, if you were on 3rd Street, would you have the same conversation?
Well, I just know that there's a lot of people who are not seeing any benefits, and there are some areas receiving lots of new landscaping, and I can't even get a tree from a hurricane.
But if you're not
There's
spending-
2 on my block, in
But
fact.
if you got, so if you got 29, so my thing is, if you got 29,000 allocated for landscaping, right?
Okay,
And you spend 7 for landscaping,
you got a good deal.
and 3 of that 7 is coming from this year's budget.
Right.
Then my math says that that's 32, and there's still 25 left. And if you're doing it in phases throughout the course of that year, then we get to other blocks. At least
I
think we
will
do.
ask my fellow board member, Mr. Campbell, how many times I've asked about trees,
Since I've been in the commission
and how much action have I seen.
last month.
And
We just want to see some movement, and they've started trimming trees. Thank you, Mr. Griffith. They've started, and Mandy, but I'd like to see them trim before Halloween.
That's going to add to the ambiance of Halloween.
It does, but then we do Christmas.
So we're past it. We've stopped dancing in the weeds. We're now in the trees.
But this doesn't, Jonathan, this doesn't affect anything that we're also talking about, does it?
No, sir. The large landscape plots that have been planning for a couple of years that you were in discussions with Ms. Tucker about have already been ordered.
Okay, so this doesn't affect any of that.
They've been shipped.
They should be
Oh,
here
thank
soon.
you.
And those are for the
Next to 11.
It's for his block,
Thank you.
right?
Well,
Take a picture of it.
yeah, take a picture.
So, with that being said, Mr. Deputy, rendering your complaint.
My
somewhat
comments
moot-
are in.
Somewhat moot. Is there a motion?
So moved.
There's a motion. I guess that's a motion to approve
Yes.
the allocation of
Second. I'll second.
7635. Mr.
Oh,
Deputy
okay.
seconded
I'll be
it.
happy.
I make-
Oh, wow.
You
All
said
right.
record, so reflect.
Yeah.
There's a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, questions called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Last thing, we got a report on fiscal year 2018-19 C.R.A. TIP fund proposed budget update.
Yes, and I'll just short and sweet to get us out of here. I did email you the report earlier this week with all the revisions and discussions that we have had. If you have any questions, let me know, but it's going to the city commission next. So
Mr. Suggs?
No question, just a comment. Well done.
Well done.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Suggs? I'm sorry, Mr. Deputy, any other concerns?
No, none. I'll be quiet.
Anything for the good of the order from you, Mr. Deputy?
No.
Commissioner Boer?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Commissioner McCaskill?
No.
Ms. Triggers? Mr. Holmes? Vice Mayor?
That's alone.
Oh, wow. Mr. Campbell.
I might want my street sign up.
Mr. Suggs.
No, sir.
It's past 5 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. We're adjourned.
I should have asked y'all to put my